All right, let's review for quiz number 10, or for the midterm or final, wherever you are. And the first thing is that many musicians don't love a click in their ear when they're recording. Some of them would rather have a loop. A drum loop that has essentially the groove will work a lot of times better than just a click, 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 click. So the next thing to say is that there are a bunch of keyboardists in particular, me included, I suppose, that will layer tracks together to get a thicker, more complex sound, and it's interesting to me now that I understand what that sounds like and how that works. How often I'm hearing it more and more that okay, so they're just triggering multiple sounds with the same controller. And speaking of that, using just one controller and plugging it directly into your interface or your computer is going to give you the least amount of delay. So the latency is what we're looking at here. As you're recording MIDI, that can be the worst thing is if the performer is noticing a difference between when they hit the keys and when they're hearing the sound. If there's too much of a delay, if there's too much latency, it can be distracting. So how do we fix that? There we look into our buffer size and sample rate settings. I think if you've been working in Pro Tools for a little while, you might have run into this, particularly the more plugins that you use at once. It will stop and say increase hardware buffer size. And so in general, as you're recording, you want to get that buffer size as low as you can and reduce the latency until it stops. And then as you're mixing, you can raise that back up to the highest level, because now you don't need to worry about latency for performancing for as the musician is performing. Good. Oh, and the last thing is, if you are going to be working on several similar songs in a similar setup, it's not a bad idea to set up a template. Right? We have that template downstairs that we use to try and get everything hooked up fast and relatively easily. But the same thing can go for the setups up here. I even had downloaded a template of an entire song, right, where it's got mapped out. The intro is 4 bars, and then verse 1 is 16 bars, and a pre-chorus and a chorus, and all of those mapped out. So the song form is even a template. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll catch you soon.